Hey everyone, what's going on? Hope you're doing well. So let's get straight into this one. Back tails, back tees, or backside tail slides. However you want to call them, they can be pretty tough to learn and even more challenging to hold. So in this video, I'm going to try and help you learn how to hold your back tails on ledges for as long as possible. I feel like there's some key bits of advice which will help you to get them down. And yeah, please consider subscribing to the channel if you enjoy this video. Okay, so starting off with wax. So I know that in all of my tutorials, I always tend to mention that you need to wax the ledge in your board, because that's just my personal preference. I love putting wax on everything. But yeah, I definitely do believe that you need to apply a significant amount of wax on the ledge and on your board as well, especially for back tails, because otherwise it's just going to stick and you won't be able to control the slide. So yeah, be sure to apply a good layer of wax. Next up, foot positioning. I personally like to have my front foot before the bolts at a slight angle, so that there's enough space on the board for my front foot to scrape up. In terms of my back foot, I prefer to have it quite straight with my toes hanging off a bit. I hang my toes off because this is going to make it a lot easier to keep balance once you pop up into the back tail. I'll explain this bit in detail shortly. Moving on, I actually approach the ledge at a slight angle, but that's just my personal preference. I feel like I can judge the distance between the floor and the ledge better this way. Although a lot of people approach the ledge completely parallel while doing back tails on ledges. So as you start to learn them, you realise which way works best for you and which way feels the most comfortable. For me, it's going at a bit of an angle. In terms of body positioning, I try to keep my body relatively straight whilst looking over, in my case, my right shoulder because I'm goofy. Just before I pop up into it, I tend to dip my left shoulder in order to generate the 90-degree rotation, which is required for the back tail. So be sure to do this just before you pop. I'd say this is a pretty vital bit of advice because otherwise it's likely to go into a salad if you don't get the right rotation. Okay, so now that we've covered all the steps prior to actually getting into the trick, we can now focus on the best way to hold them once you've actually entered the back tail. When I mentioned the part about the toes hanging off before you pop, I'll explain now why this is so crucial. So I personally think the best way to hold back tails is by having your back foot pretty much right on the edge of the tail with your toes hanging off, like I mentioned. This allows you to keep your balance so much easier and control the slide well. Although, be careful with this part, because you want your toes hanging off, but your heel shouldn't be touching the ledge. If your heel ends up touching the ledge, you're probably going to get stuck and can also fall backwards with no visibility whatsoever. So yeah, watch out for that. A good way to stop your heel touching the ledge would be to apply more pressure on your toes so that your heel doesn't touch the ledge. You're going to need to be going relatively fast in order to get a good long slide on the ledge. Also, as you get up into the trick, be sure not to lean forward too much. That's pretty important. Otherwise the board is going to slip out and this can result in some nasty bails, so be aware of that. Try and get a good balance of leaning forward but not too much, whilst also applying pretty much all the pressure on your back foot in order to control the slide. At first, the feeling of sliding backwards can be pretty scary, but with practice, you'll start to overcome that fear. Try and hold the trick for as long as possible by combining all of the previous steps we've covered. Naturally, you're going to want to come out fakey because of your body positioning. Your body will want to come out backwards. I also think this is the best way to come out of the trick if you want to hold back tails for as long as possible. Once you feel comfortable with holding your back tails, you can start to try tricks out of them. Doing a long back tail is satisfying, but doing a long back tail with a trick out of it, even more so. Just experiment with shoves out, big spins, flip outs, and even big flips if you're feeling snazzy. Just get as creative as possible and push your own boundaries, because that's what skateboarding is all about in the end. Alright guys, so I hope this tutorial has helped you to understand how to hold back tails for as long as possible. It's another one of my favourite ledge tricks, and I really can't stress enough how good they feel once you get them down. So yeah, as always, stay tuned for more skate related content. Take care guys, have a good one.